Hey, I'm Scotty from Steampipe Audio. Last week, I talked about the water damage that was in the studio, and I said that the next video that I was going, excuse me, I said that the next video that I was going to put out would be discussing the insurance and everything that I had to go through to get through the process of getting back up and running. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. But there are a couple of things that we should discuss before that. First off, who's this video for? You don't have a recording studio. I do. So why should you care? Well, it's not just about recording studios, right? Everybody's got insurance. And if you've got specialized equipment, let's say you do video stuff. Let's say you've got a podcast, so you do have some audio stuff. Let's say you've got a vintage baseball collection, baseball cards. Let's say you're really into metalwork or 3D printing, and you've got a printer or a CNC mill, anything like that. If you've got gear, especially if it's your dad's gear or an older piece of gear, something that's not readily available that you can't just go to the store and buy another one, this is exactly the video for you, because this is exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about gear that has intrinsic value, but it's older. It's not directly replaceable. All right, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is insurance. What is insurance? Insurance is simply paying someone else to take on a portion of the risk that you have, right? So I've got this room down here, and I am worried that something's going to happen, whether it's a fire or a flood or anything like that. Someone comes in, steals my stuff. I'm concerned about the risk. So I am willing to pay someone to take on a portion of that or all of the risk on my behalf. It's a bet. They look at the situation and they say, you look pretty good. The chances are pretty low that we're ever going to have to pay out. And we're making a bet. As the insurance company, they're making a bet. And you, of course, are making a bet that, I think just the opposite. I think someone's going to come in here and steal my stuff, or I think that something's going to happen. Some big storm is going to come through. So that's basically what insurance is. It's a push and pull. They're betting nothing's going to happen. You're betting something is going to happen, and you negotiate what the cost of them taking on your risk is going to be. Now, it makes no difference whatsoever whether it's business insurance or it's home insurance. This is something that you absolutely need to do. Take a look at the policy that you have and make sure that it is a direct replacement policy. What that means is this. This microphone has been damaged in some way. It doesn't matter. What is the value of this microphone? That's how much we're going to pay you. If it's a 30-year-old microphone, they're going to say, well, the value is not much because it's a 30-year-old microphone. And they're going to pay you $100. But if it's a direct replacement, that means something completely different. Now, all of a sudden, we're not talking the value of this microphone. We're talking the value of the utility it gives me. That's the difference between a Manley microphone, a Neumann microphone, okay, and a Radio Shack mic. I know Radio Shack doesn't exist anymore, but that's the difference, okay? A mic records audio, doesn't say anything about the quality. A console mixes things, sends audio through it, okay? But there's a massive difference between an 80 series Neve and a Mackie. When you have direct replacement, the utility and the quality of your unit is taken into account. So make absolutely sure that you've got a direct replacement policy. Second thing, make sure that you at all times maintain a list of the gear that you own. That seems kind of obvious, but here's the reason. It's not so much about the specific piece of gear. It's what utility that gear gives you, right? So one of the things that I discussed last week was that my DMX R100, my console, was the center of the patch base, and it was the center of the workflow. It was the center of everything. And so when I went to replace gear, what made it difficult was the fact that the desk routed everything internally. And so because of that, replacing it and all of the utility that it gave me became quite difficult. It wasn't a matter of just throw another desk in there, because every desk is different. You got an analog desk, it's not going to have digital internal routing. You got a digital desk, well, Euphonics and Sony are very different kinds of things. So you need to take into account what each piece does for you. What I had was 96 channels of an old HD Pro Tools setup running on an old computer that never got updated. The darn thing ran, and all it did was audio. It spit out time code to another computer, which was more modern, and that did everything else. And those two were locked via internal time code, word clock and SMPTE. 96 in, 96 out, no latency. It just worked. So it doesn't matter how old it was. This was the utility that it gave me. And that's what needed to be replaced. So what's the point? The point is you need to keep a list of everything that you've got and what use it performs in your shop, in your studio. That's the important part of the direct replacement policy. Another thing, don't forget the accessories. Cables are expensive. That DI box is expensive. 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch connectors are expensive. Little cables, USB cables, it's at $15, $20 each. All of a sudden you're spending $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 just on accessories alone. Don't forget the accessories. If you do have a studio, you use hard drives, and you use probably a lot of them, especially if it's video. Data that's on your hard drives will not be covered. Okay, do you understand what that means? That means the hard drive is covered. They'll buy you another hard drive. But the fact that you lost that $1 million project that you were working on, that's your problem, because the data is not covered. Now, there are policies that you can get. Like when I was engineering and flying from studio to studio, my gear would be in Anvil cases, and that would be shipped on by a cargo on the plane. But I'd keep my hard drives with me. But if anything happens to those hard drives, well, suddenly that B-side track that you've been recording that nobody really cared about was going to be the biggest hit in the world. So you could easily, if you lose that song or you lose that A-roll, you could be sued for, $2-3 million of lost proceeds because that was going to be the biggest project ever. Data's cheap nowadays. Hard drives are cheap, and it's not difficult to get things running backup. It's one thing to duplicate your drive, but if you've got a hard drive sitting here, you got a hard drive in the other room, the whole place burns down, both of them are gone. Okay? So I would suggest always backing up to someplace offsite if you can do that. But either way, look in your policy for the clause that will say data is not included. Okay, so you've had a disaster. Now what? First thing to remember, I know you're upset, but you got to deal with it. Because the more people you have on your side, the better off you will be. They have expertise in a certain area. If it's water damage, plumbers, restoration people, fire, whatever it is, you're asking in people who are very good at what they do. They have seen this a million times, and you've got to look for advice from wherever you can get it, because there's all kinds of things that you can find out. I got a pretty good rundown of what to expect from the restoration from the guy who came to assess the damage and the restoration. He was able to tell me things that I should be looking for, things that I should make sure that the insurance company did not forget because they may not want to look at it. And he was also able to tell me things that I may find that I may not want to discuss, just to keep my options open. I'm not saying that he was telling me to do anything untoward or to do anything that was illegal. It's really about your property is your property. And you need to do, and there are certain things that you need to do, but you need to keep your options open, and you need to keep your options on your own terms, on your own timeline, right? You don't want to be forced into a scenario where these people are saying you've got to do this and you've got to do it now. And these people are saying, well, you can't do this until this happens. And now you're stuck in the middle over a piece of property that's yours. Keep as many friends as you can. Don't yell at anybody. Don't get angry. You're going to want to get angry. Don't get angry. All right, so what's the process? First process is you're going to assess the damage, okay? You're going to have mitigation people in here. They're going to assess the damage. The insurance company will bring somebody down. They will assess the damage. Now, that the insurance person who's been assigned to you is your insurance person. You can't get rid of them. There's nothing you can do. If you don't like them, too bad. That's your insurance person, okay? They're going to assess the damage. They will then ask you for a list of everything that has been damaged. They're going to take pictures. You're going to take pictures. One major piece of advice is never throw away anything. Every sheet of paper, anything that you say must be either written down or sent in an email. This is to verify, this is what you said, this is what I said. If you don't do that, it's like it never happened. I'm telling you, that's the way it is. As I said, there were a whole bunch of gear that was in here that was beyond repair. It was disgusting, but I had to keep it all of it, until the final settlement went through. Then I could actually get rid of it, because you never know what's going to happen. They may come back and go, well, this is a problem. And there was one thing, the original Questids here, the original audio monitors, got chucked right away. And it was a problem. Even though I had picture after picture, and you've seen picture after picture in the last video of the damage done. But it was a problem because I didn't have it here. Don't throw away anything. Okay, so they're going to take pictures. You're going to take pictures. Then if it's specialized gear, like I've got, like maybe you have, they may assign one of their people, or they may hire an outside company to come in and take even more pictures and go through and assign values to every single piece. What I was told is that my insurance guy doesn't know specific audio gear, and so he's not able to properly assess value. Sounds plausible to me. So he's going to send over a specialist to work with me to do that. And so for 7 or 8 hours, we were down here taking pictures of absolutely everything. Problem is that I found out that he wasn't an audio specialist at all. He was down here to check the validity of my claim. And so the point is, you must, at all times, make sure that you understand that once the smoke clears, this isn't Christmas, okay? This isn't your opportunity to get one over on someone and replace gear or get things that you didn't have before. You just want your stuff back. That's got to be your attitude, because if you try to get cute, you're going to get stomped. They're better at this than you are. They do this all day long. every day. Okay? You must keep the moral high ground. If something is damaged, list it. If something is not damaged, don't list it. If something can be repaired, discuss it with them. But they probably don't want to discuss repair. I'm not sure why. I tried a number of times. There were, I told you about the Neve. And they just didn't want to discuss it. And I'm not sure why. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not even going to guess. Okay? But you must keep the moral high ground. Now, you saw pictures of the room, and maybe I'll put them up again. Everything on this side was damaged, was gone, demolished, everything. Okay? Some things on this side were okay. In fact, the bulk of the things that were on this side were okay. And I didn't list anything that wasn't completely damaged. And one of the things that they were looking for was they were cross-checking across the photos. Did I list anything that was on this side on my list? And I had not. Not one thing. And in fact, there were things that were in the pictures as being over here that were actually over here when the damage happened. And when they brought that up, I said, well, here's an older picture. It lived over here, so it wasn't damaged. But when we were moving things around, it got placed over here, and that's why it's over here in the picture. But it wasn't listed on the damage. Okay? You must keep the moral high ground at all times, or you will be stomped. Okay, so once they assign a value for every piece, what they will do is they will send you an itemized list of the value that they've assessed. And there will be what's called a depreciated value. Okay, they're going to keep some portion of the value. So let's say you've got a piece, right? It's worth $100. They say it's worth $100, but they're only going to give you 75 and they're going to keep 25. Why? They want to make sure that you're not going to go to Barbados. They want to make sure that you're going to buy that piece. They'll give you 75. You'll lay out 25, buy the piece, and they'll reimburse you the extra 25. It's the way it is. Can't get around it. That's the way it is. Okay? So you'll get an itemized list. You'll look at the depreciated value. You'll look at the full value. That is the number that they have assigned. It's up to you now to go through each piece and show why that piece has been undervalued. They may or may not adjust. In my case, they did not. In my case, for a year, they constantly said, we are looking into this and we will adjust. And not once did any adjustment happen. If everything is cool, if you've got the value that you wanted, you're good to go. And you take the money and you buy the replacement gear and you send them the receipts and they give you the depreciated offset and you're good to go. But it won't happen like that. It won't happen like that. What you do is now you need what's called a public adjuster. This guy, or gal, I suppose, works on your behalf. He gets a portion, generally 10 to 15%, of what is recovered. So in other words, if you have $100,000 worth of damage, they want to give you $50,000 total. And this guy comes in and you get yourself a real bulldog of a guy. And he gets you the other 50,000. Now you've got 100,000. You pay him 15%, but you got 35 that you didn't have before, right? So you could look at it as, well, this guy's charging me 15%. Yeah, but he's charging you 15% of essentially something that you didn't have before. So don't be knocking it. Okay. Get yourself a public adjuster. Take a look at 2 or 3 of them. You want the guy who's going to work for you, right? Because it's in his best interest. Because he only wins if he wins. You don't pay him. You pay him out of what he wins. Okay, so there's no reason not to do it. If you've got a problem with the insurance company, it doesn't go to court. Okay. And it goes to a special kind of arbitration. Basically, how it works is you get an evaluator and they get an evaluator. Your evaluator will look at the list and go through the value of absolutely everything and argue with their evaluator on the price of each individual piece. And they will try to come up with a mutual agreement between the two. That's stage one. If that doesn't work, the last stage is your evaluator and their evaluator both agree on a third evaluator whom you will never meet. And the third evaluator will work with the two. And if any two come to an agreement, their guy and the third guy, your guy and the third guy, or all three, if any two come up with an agreement, that's the number, period. And there's nothing you can do about it at that point. You can't do anything. It's in the contract. Okay? That is the agreement. So who works for who? Okay. Your evaluator works for you. He's going to take the high number. The insurance company evaluator works for the insurance company. They're going to take the low number. So there's not much difference between you and the insurance company. The third guy couldn't care less. He's completely arbitrary and has no skin in the game. Okay? So that's why this last stage is so important. He's going to take the most objective view, and it's probably going to be, 50%, right? So you may end up with, using the 50,000 to 100,000, you may end up with 75. And then you've got the cost, of the public adjuster, and you've got the cost of the third evaluator. But again, it's better than 50, so don't be knocking it. Okay, a couple of things here. Now, this is specific to me, and it may be specific to you too. So this is kind of important. When it came to the desk and the old 96-channel Digi unit that I had, those two pieces could not be directly replaced. And so I was going to have to replace them with a number of other things that were not the same. So when it came down to, as I said in the beginning, you want to get a direct replacement piece, that was not going to be possible. So I wanted to make absolutely sure that when they give me X amount of dollars to replace a console, a single item console, and I buy 6 things that will replace the functionality of the console, I want to make darn sure that they aren't going to go, well, that's not a console. We're not going to pay you for it. And now I'm out a lot of money. So what I was looking for the whole time was I want to make darn sure that the insurance company, signs off when I buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. These 5 things represent this one thing. And I want you to agree because console's not cheap, right? Before I lay out $25,000, I want you to sign off on the fact that we understand that these things represent this totally different thing. They never did that and never wanted to. And they never understood why. They understood why. They knew full well why. But in the end, they had acted, well, I don't want to get too much into it. They had acted so badly the whole time, and I had so much proof that they were acting badly, that the third evaluator basically said, this is the number, and it's the maximum number. And you can buy absolutely anything. They can't check anything. This is their punishment for trying to screw you. So you can buy absolutely anything, but that probably won't happen to you. So you want to make darn sure that they understand that I'm going to buy this, and this, and it's going to represent this one thing that I can't replace because it's just not a thing anymore, okay? Or you want what's called an open judgment, where it doesn't matter what you purchase. This is the amount of money. You submit the receipts, but the receipts are not really all that important. They just want to make sure that you spend every dime and you're not going to, once again, Barbados. Okay, now, and this one is really, really important because I didn't know anything about this. It was a total surprise to me. If you have homeowners insurance, you'll have two sections. Okay, one will cover the home, the physical home, and the other one will cover the personal items in the home. Okay, so obviously the reconstruction was the home, and the personal items, the studio gear, was the personal items. Those two things were completely separate and paid out by different portions of the insurance company. We didn't have a problem with the reconstruction part because 2x4s and electrical work and plumbing and sheetrock, and that's all easily assessed by them. They're very good at getting their estimate was almost dead on when it came to the rebuilding of the place. It was the personal items that were the issue. When you get a payment, let's say you have $50,000 worth of construction damage, okay? When they pay you for the construction damage, you'll get a check. It says, blah, 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 insurance company, pay $50,000, okay? And it'll have the payees on there. Payee will be you and your wife and your mortgage company, which means that any one of those people cannot cash that check. It needs to be signed or endorsed on the back by all three entities. But this is the important part, okay? If you hold a mortgage, the check must go to the mortgage company. They have to deposit it, and then they will issue a check to you. That's going to add 10 days to 2 weeks to the whole process. You will receive the check. You will endorse it. Your mortgage company will have some way, or if you can get them on the phone, you'll find out, how do I go through this process? You have to then give them the check. They will deposit it into their account, and they will issue you a new check. It's a big pain in the neck, but that is the way it must be done. Do not try to deposit that check because it will not work. And you will get that check back in the mail, and you'll have to start the whole process over again. In other words, you'll have to get that check back from the insurance company because that check will no longer be valid. If you have a mortgage, you must give that check to the mortgage company or call the mortgage company, find out from them what to do. But I didn't have any idea that I had to do that, and I tried to put it in my bank account. I figured it didn't make a difference. Here's why. And it really didn't make a difference because, as I said, it was a year already. We couldn't live with the demolished house, so we paid for the house to be completely reconstructed out of our own pocket. No insurance company money. We were reimbursing ourselves. When it comes down to it, I can understand the mortgage company has a vested interest in making sure that the house that they have a loan out on maintains its value. We had already dealt with that because we paid out of pocket. Okay, so, but it didn't make a difference. And I had to go through the whole process again. You don't want to be delayed, and you don't want to have to grab a second check from a company that didn't want to give you the first check. All right. Let's see, what else? I think that's about it. Let me just say this. When it comes to the insurance company, they make it hard. I mean, they don't want to pay you, right? I know they're supposed to, but they don't want to pay you. And you can sit there and go, well, you took the bet, but that's not going to help because they don't want to pay you. And they're they've got more money than you do. So they can hold out longer. And holding out is what it's all about. They bank on the fact that you're in a bad scenario. They bank on your inability to wait them out. About 80% of claims will settle because the people are not in a position to wait. I was very fortunate because we were able to wait, and I was able to go through the entire process. They're banking on lowballing you, and they're banking on the fact that you'll just take it because you can't wait. But if you can wait, do it, okay? Even though they may have to pay the full amount or even a punishment amount on top, that punishment amount on top of just 15 or 20% is far outweighed by all the money that they save for the 80% that they've lowballed and people just couldn't wait. I mean, again, this isn't Christmas. You're paying them every single month to take on the risk. And that's exactly what they should do. You have a contract. And when it comes to you paying your homeowner's insurance, they don't allow you to delay. They don't allow you to hem and haw, and they don't allow you to negotiate or lowball. So why should they be able to do it? All right. Again, I hope this is valuable. I know it's all over the place. I'm going to try to cut this into something that's coherent. One can never tell. But I hope that I've given you a couple of sage words of advice from someone who's been through the process. And again, if you can avoid this, then do it. Go get that stupid flexible pipe and change it right now. Again, it's a $3.50 pipe. Don't let that pipe be the cause of your damage. Disasters happen, and you need to be prepared. Don't get angry. Keep it calm. Keep people on your side. You want as much advice from people who know what the hell they're talking about as possible. All right. In the next few videos, I think what I'm going to start going through is the process that I went through in rebuilding the room and speccing it out. I had an acoustics company that was really fantastic. So maybe we'll talk about the acoustics of the room and wiring and gear choices and things like that. Again, going from a console to hybrid was no easy matter, especially since it's just not the way. I'm not used to working like that, and I'm still getting used to it. So those are the type of things that we're going to be talking about, and I'll probably post a couple of short things because again, I'm still trying to get used to the acoustics of the room, and so it's quirky. And every once in a while, that quirkiness is kind of funny, or it's kind of interesting, or it's a learning moment. So maybe I'll put a couple of things out there that could be of entertainment value or of educational value. Who knows? Either way, have a good day, and I will see you soon.